Shark Game here, coming at you with another episode from ChooseYourRelationships.com off of Love Can't Wait, which can be found on Amazon.com. If you've been following me for a while, you know that I haven't had any major problems with women. When I say major problems, I'm talking like being put in jail because of domestic violence, or being on child support or an alimony, getting a divorce, and any type of physical aspect of relationships that could happen. I haven't had any type of problems like that. I've had a stalker here and there. I ran into possessive women. They calling you nonstop on the telephone. I've had maybe one or two women show up at my house unannounced without giving them permission. I've had stuff like that happen, but I haven't had anything major to happen to affect my bank account and my way of living or my standard of living, anything like that. So when I speak, I'm not really coming from a place of bitterness, or I don't have any regrets, anything like that. And I think one of the main reasons why a lot of that stems from because when I grew up seeing my brothers have the same problems that I just talked about. My brothers were like having babies with women that were trifling and kind of just took advantage of people's kindness, and they looked at it as weakness. And they just manipulated the whole situation, manipulated my brother and my parents. So my brothers had women around our family like that, that type of mentality, and they had kids, and I never wanted to have kids with women that I couldn't see myself with long term. I made that decision when I was like 17, 18, 19, around that age. And as I got older, I didn't really think about being married at all. I knew I wanted a kid. I knew I wanted kids, that's for sure. But as far as being married, I never really put too much thought into it. But so this is why I always was pretty conscious of, and I always try to be aware of the people, the women that I have around me, because eventually if I keep someone around me long enough, they're going to meet a family member or a close friend of mine. And my close friends, I consider them to be a part of my family. So, I'm just like most guys. I like a woman with a big ass. I like big ass and tits. And I think most of us brothers, I think we're conditioned to like women with big ass and tits. I could be wrong about that. If I am, correct me below. But I think most brothers that I know, they like women with big asses. That's not something that's something that I've been hearing since I was a little kid. Something that I've been seeing since I was a little kid. And what I can say is, what you stare at long enough, if you stare at something long enough, you tend to want that. Especially if you see other people that's attracted to that. But the only problem with that is sometimes, they say you shouldn't judge a book by its cover. But sometimes, that's all we got. We don't have anything in the beginning to judge by. And sometimes the woman with the big butt and the smile ain't necessarily the best woman for us. Sometimes it's not in our best interest to be with a woman like that. This is why you gotta get to know people. I mean, what's their morals like, their values? I mean, what mission do they have? What's their philosophy in life? These are the things that I look at. And you might not be able to get all that out of one woman. You might have to have two women. You know, they say it takes a village to raise a child, and it takes a village to raise a family as well. So but that's really dependent on the type of guy that you are. And you know, sometimes you got to look at your mission and her philosophy, if she has one, and can y'all coincide and live together? I mean, maybe she's the type of girl that just like to live in the big city for the rest of her life and work a job and just be there. There's some women, a lot of women like that out here. Some women don't want a guy that's always striving and thriving and looking to get better. Some women don't want a guy that's like that. Some women want a guy that just work a job. That's it. And pay the bills. They don't want a guy that's a trendsetter. Some women don't want guys like that. Now, me personally, I'm on a mission. And I don't want to live in a big city for the rest of my life. So if I meet a woman that wants to live in a big city for the rest of her life, that's not going to be a good match, because I'm not going to live in a city for the rest of my life. I want to live maybe in the suburbs or in the country. And some people despise living in the country. I mean, some people were born and raised in the city, and that's all they know. That's all they can see. They can't see outside of the big city. But that's not me. See, I'm from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. I'm from a small town. And I've been to a lot of these big cities. And it's just another city. In most cases, the same shit is going on. Motherfuckers is wilding. It's random chaos in most of these towns. So I'm not really impressed when I go and live and visit a lot of these cities, really. But when it comes to a lot of the women, I'll take a woman with a bubble ass and no tits if she got the right personality, if she's nurturing, supportive, and if we can get on the same page, I'll take a woman like that versus a woman with the big ass that I don't get along with, that we don't have the same values. And sometimes I get turned off with a lot of women. She might have all the physical features that I like, but once I start talking to her or spending time with her, the only thing we really have in common is sex. That's happened a couple times. And it usually ends. It doesn't really last very long. So, you know, that type of woman, that's not going to work. And plus, if you meet the wrong woman and get her pregnant, have a baby with her, shit. She might be one of those types that believe in the court system. She believes in a third party. She wants the third party, the kind of back her up so she can get paid. If you meet that type of woman that doesn't believe that y'all can work things out as adults, you're going to be like a lot of these guys, a lot of these celebrities like Tiger Woods. A lot of these entertainers, they're getting raped every month. They get thousands and thousands of dollars taken out of their bank account because they made a bad decision to have a child with a woman that don't have their best interests. But you know what? I met a guy a long time ago, like 23 years ago, when I went to South Carolina State. And he told me something at the time that I didn't understand, and I still don't really. Some of the stuff he was saying, I still don't really understand it today, because I never really went deep into it. But he said, at the time I was hanging around a lot of frat brothers, Sigmas and Omega Psi Phi, Q Dogs, and AKAs, and a lot of, they was having a lot of frat parties. And this older guy, at the time, he was about 45, and I was like 20. And he told me, when it comes to dating women, he said, in the frat circle of sisters and brothers or whatever, he said they date. He said us guys choose women from the neck up. So I'm like, what do you mean? He said they focus on education and how the woman grew up. What's her position at the university, and where she went to school at, and her parents, and where she lived, where her parents live, and where she's going, what plans she got. So everything was based on, it starts from academics, and it usually leads to economics. That's how they think. And I think they still think like that today. But he said on the other side of the coin, the average man in society think from the neck down. So he said they look at they focus on the woman's body and see look at her tits and ass and her feet and all that stuff. And he said being attractive is very important, no doubt about it. Sex is very important in a relationship. There's no doubt about it. But he said that's usually second. He said looks, physical features is usually second on the list. He said academics and economics is usually on the top of the list. So he said physical attraction, no doubt about it, is very important. But that's not the main thing that you should focus on. And I agree with that. That's not the main thing you should focus on. But it's very important. This is why I say sometimes the woman with the big button smile is not always the best woman that's for you or for me. It's like I'll take a woman with a bubble butt, no tits, but if she got charm, if she's nurturing, got good values and morals, and we can get on the same page, and we can make some fly shit happen and build an empire, she can come on the team. No doubt about it. And if she has the same vision, they don't necessarily have to be exactly the same. But if her vision can coincide along with mine, we can make some shit happen. And you might not be able to get everything out of one woman. You might meet two women. You just might. I'm sorry, but you can't. It's very difficult. Might be almost impossible today to get everything out of one woman. But the thing that you must not do not breed and have a baby with a woman that you don't see yourself with long term. You don't necessarily have to be married, but if you have a baby with a woman that you can't see yourself with long term, that don't have your best interests, man, you're in for a long, uncomfortable, difficult ride. Because, especially if you're a black male, because we're already at a disadvantage anyway. Because the laws are biased, the court system are biased. These institutions try to capitalize off of every thing that you can ever imagine. So, plus, you always got to keep in mind, you're only as strong as the people that you have around you. And you're only human as well. So you're going to make mistakes. And that's just a part of the game. Really. You know, even I make mistakes. But it depends. Depending on your skill set, the better you get socially, economically, financially, physically, the better you are as a man, the less mistakes you start to make. I can almost guarantee that. And I write about this in my books, both of my books, which can be found on Amazon.com by clicking the link below this video. So you want to breed smart. Breed smart. Because it's going to, it could possibly affect the rest of your life and affect the next generation. So if you like what you heard, subscribe to my channel. Check out my blog, chooseyourrelationships.com. And subscribe to my Players Club by clicking the link below. And if you got questions, I got answers. Until next time, I'm out. Peace.